Okay, so the next thing we're going to start manufacturing is this part here. So this plastic section holds the earpieces in place. Okay, so we're going to bend this plastic, bend this bit of acrylic, and in the oven, heat it up, make it flexible, and then bend it to shape. To do that, we've got this mold here. Now this mold replicates the shape. If I put that together, you'll see there's a gap. This has been made to manufacture it and give you the exact shape that you need to make. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some gloves. Okay, so you're going to need heat-proof gloves here. You're going to need the oven, which I've got set up behind me, and then you're going to need a piece of plastic. Now you'll notice, hopefully you can see that there, with the shine. You've got one side of this is shiny and one side of this is matte. Now it doesn't matter which way around you go, but I would suggest you do both pieces the same. If you put it this way around with the matte side facing the curve, the inside of it will be matte. If you do it the other way around, the inside will be shiny. Okay, so what you're going to need to do, the first thing you're going to need to do is sterilize our hands, okay, because we're going to be using these shared gloves. So I'm going to sterilize my hands, and then I can then put them into the glove. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take your bit of plastic and you're going to need to place it over into the oven. Okay, so we're now over by the oven. I've just moved the camera here. You'll notice I've had the oven and I've preheated the oven to 220 degrees. Okay, so I've heated the oven up to 220 degrees and I've placed my gloves on. The things we need to be careful about, obviously the oven being really hot, and that's why we've got these gloves on. We don't want to touch anything that's going to burn us. Okay, so we're going to open the oven up, and I'm very carefully going to place the piece of plastic inside on the rack. Okay, you don't want it to fall through. You don't want it right at the back so you can't grab it. Now what you'll notice is, because we've had the oven door open, the temperature is dropping. Now, the normal question is, sir, how long does it need to be in there? And to be honest, there's no easy answer to that, because it depends on the heat of the oven. If it's at 220 degrees, it needs to be in there for about a minute. If it's lower than that, if it goes down to sort of 180, 170, things like that, then you're going to need to actually put it in for a little bit longer. But what you're looking for the plastic to be is totally flexible. Okay, so you should be able to bend it in your hands and it should move and be flexible. What you don't want is, when you push it into the mold, you don't want any resistance whatsoever. Okay, similarly, you don't want to leave it in for too long. If you start hearing a popping sound in the oven, it means the plastic is starting to bubble and heat up too much. Okay, so about a minute, between a minute and a minute and a half, dependent on how hot you've got the oven. So you can see I didn't lose too much temperature because I kept it in there. I kept the oven door closed for quite a while, and then so I didn't lose too much temperature, so it doesn't need to be in for too long. Okay, so I'm going to pause this now, and then in a minute, once I get it out after the minute, you'll be able to see what it looks like. Right, so I've now taken the plastic out from the oven, and you can see it's totally flexible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it into my mold. I'm going to be careful not to squash it in, put it level with this sort of side, this edge here, and I'm going to push this around like that. Now it's moved slightly, so I'm going to need to adjust that a little bit more. I want it to go all the way around. Okay, and there we go. So look, I want it to be totally in there. I don't want to squash any of the holes, and I'm holding my mold tight, and the plastic fits in the gap that was there. Now I need to hold it there for about a minute, for the plastic to cool down. Once the plastic's cooled, it will lose its flexibility, and it will then stay in that and hold that position. Now, acrylic is what's called a thermoplastic. Okay, so a thermoplastic is all to do with temperature. We can heat it up, and then it becomes flexible. Now the good thing about a thermoplastic is, if we make a mistake, if it wasn't quite hot enough and it's cooled down too much, we can put it back in the oven. It will remember its original shape, and then we can then mold it again. So if you do mess this up, if it doesn't go quite as you expected it to, we can put it back in the oven. The worst thing you can do is not have the plastic quite hot enough and then try and force the mold shut and then end up snapping the plastic. Okay, so we need to make sure the plastic is flexible enough, and it's just going to mold quite easy. You shouldn't really have a lot of resistance when you're pushing the mold closed. You should be able to just push it shut, and it hold that position. So now it should be done there. Let's take it out, and you'll be able to see I've now moulded this bit of plastic into the curved shape that we needed, and then this will allow us later on to put the bit of brass that you did through there to hold the headphones in place. Okay, so that's how you use the oven to mould the plastic to hold the headphones.